step into the chilling world of Joe Metheny, a man whose crimes shocked a nation. From initial acts of rage to the macabre details of his later atrocities, Metheny's story is a haunting journey through the darkest corridors of human behavior. Join us as we uncover the gripping saga of a man whose descent into depravity knew no bounds, leaving a trail of horror in his wake. Joseph Roy Metheny, March 2, 1955, August 5, 2017, was an American serial killer and rapist from the Baltimore, Maryland area. Joe Metheny had always been rough. He endured a childhood of neglect with an absent alcoholic father and a mother forced to work extra shifts to support her 6 children. They lived in Essex, near Baltimore. His father was killed in a car accident when Metheny was 6, and he suffered depression. Metheny said that his parents often sent him to live with other families in foster-like arrangements. Metheny joined the United States Army in 1973. His mother said that he had served in Germany, although he claimed that he had served a tour in Vietnam and had become addicted to heroin while in an artillery unit there. Not many other details are known about his younger years, but his mother says he joined the Army in 1973 when he was 19. They lost touch after that.
He just kept drifting further and further away. I think the worst thing that ever happened to him was drugs. It's a sad, sad story,
she said. Upon leaving the Army, Metheny worked blue-collar jobs in lumber yards and as a truck driver. Then came the incident that sparked his desire for revenge. In 1994, Joe Metheny lived with his girlfriend and their 6-year-old son in South Baltimore. As a truck driver, he was often away for long periods. One day, he returned home to find his girlfriend and their child gone. Like Metheny, his girlfriend struggled with drug addiction, and Joe believed she had left with another man and was now living on the streets. Enraged, he spent days searching for them, checking halfway houses, and even looking under a particular bridge where he knew she used to buy and use drugs. Under the bridge, he didn't find his wife, but instead encountered 2 homeless men whom he believed knew her. When they failed to provide any information about his family's whereabouts, he killed them both with an axe he had brought along. Immediately afterward, Metheny allegedly spotted a fisherman nearby who might have witnessed the murders. To eliminate any potential witness, Metheny killed him as well. While some people consider these first 3 killings as crimes of passion, Metheny would later develop a disturbing taste for murder. Realizing the gravity of his actions, Metheny panicked and threw the bodies into the river to conceal the evidence. He did eventually get some closure on his son's whereabouts, saying,
"I found out about 6 months later. She had moved on the other side of town with some asshole that had her out selling her ass for drugs. They got busted for drugs and they took my son away from them for child neglect and child abuse."
Police arrested Metheny for the murders of the 2 men under the bridge, and he spent a 1.5 years in the county jail awaiting trial. However, he was acquitted of all charges because he had dumped their bodies in the nearby river, making it impossible for investigators to find them. In 1994, Metheny murdered 39-year-old Kathy Ann Magaziner and buried her body in a shallow grave at the factory where he worked. The body remained there for more than 2 years. Metheny later confessed that he had strangled her, then dug up her skeleton 6 months later, placed her head in a box, and disposed of it in the trash. Without physical evidence tying him to the crimes, Joe Metheny went free. He resumed his original quest of seeking out his missing wife and child. But this time, something was different. It seemed that he was now murdering people for sport as much as for revenge. Shortly after being released, Metheny murdered 2 sex workers when they failed to provide him with information about his missing girlfriend. This time, however, he devised a more gruesome method for disposing of their bodies. Instead of tossing them in the river, Metheny brought the bodies home. He dismembered them and stored the meatiest parts in Tupperware containers. What didn't fit in his freezer, he buried in a truck lot owned by the pallet company he worked for. Over the next several weekends, he mixed the sex workers' flesh with beef and pork, forming it into neat little patties. He sold these meat patties from a small barbecue stand he opened on the side of the road. During this time, his customers unknowingly consumed bits of human flesh, becoming unwitting hiding spots for the bodies of Metheny's victims. Whenever he needed more special meat, Metheny would simply seek out another sex worker or vagabond. He later informed police that he received no complaints about the meat tasting unusual. In fact, no one seemed to notice that his burgers had a little something extra in them.
"The human body tastes very similar to pork,"
he said.
"If you mix it together, no one can tell the difference. So the next time you're riding down the road and you happen to see an open pit beef stand that you've never seen before, make sure you think about this story before you take a bite of that sandwich."
Joe Metheny was finally apprehended in 1996 after his would-be victim, Rita Kemper, managed to escape and immediately reported him to the police. During his interrogation, Metheny freely confessed to his crimes. He provided detailed accounts of each murder, including the killing of the fisherman several years earlier. According to his confession, he claimed responsibility for 10 murders. Authorities believe there is no reason to think he would have stopped there had he not been captured, according to his confession. In mid-November 1996, Metheny killed Kimberly Lynn Spicer by stabbing her with a knife. On December 8, 1996, he kidnapped Rita Kemper and attempted to rape her. According to prosecutors, he shared drugs with Kemper in the trailer where he was living at the pallet factory site. When she refused to have sex with him and ran out of the trailer, he chased her, beat her, dragged her back inside, and attempted to rape her. Kemper later testified that he had threatened her, saying, "I'm going to kill you and bury you in the woods with the other girls." She managed to escape through a window and fled to nearby police officers. Metheny then asked a friend to help him bury Spicer's body, which he had been hiding at the factory site since her murder a month earlier. The friend reported this to the police on December 15, 1996, and Metheny was arrested and charged with her murder the same day. Metheny began confessing to other murders, including that of Spicer. He led police to the shallow grave where he had reburied Kathy Ann Magaziner's decapitated remains. Although much of the skull was missing, police were able to identify Magaziner using dental records. Police stated that Metheny targeted young white sex workers who were addicted to heroin and cocaine. His killings also involved brutal sexual assaults. He was indicted for the murder of 28-year-old Tony Lynn Ingracia, but the charges were later dropped due to lack of evidence. Metheny also claimed to have killed 3 other prostitutes along Washington Boulevard in Baltimore, although there was no evidence for most of those crimes beyond his confession. He said that he had thrown bodies in the Patapsco River, and they had never been found. The Baltimore Sun reported in 1997 that it was not clear how truthful his claims were about how many people he had killed, although he said that he had killed up to 10 people. His attorney said that he was remorseful, and that drugs and alcohol had changed his personality and made him violent. Eventually, a jury found him guilty and sentenced Metheny to death. However, a judge overturned this verdict in 2000 and changed it to 2 consecutive life sentences.
"The words 'I'm sorry' will never come out, for they would be a lie. I am more than willing to give up my life for what I have done, to have God judge me and send me to hell for eternity. I just enjoyed it,"
he said at his trial.
"The only thing I feel bad about in any of this is I didn't get to murder the 2 motherfuckers I was really after, and that's my ex-old lady and the bastard she got hooked up with,"
he said. In 2017, guards discovered Metheny unresponsive in his cell at the Western Correctional Institution in Cumberland around 3 p.m. He was pronounced dead shortly afterward, bringing an end to his horrifying saga. Joe Metheny's story is a harrowing tale of brutality and depravity that shook communities and authorities alike. From his initial crimes born of rage to the calculated horrors of his later acts, Metheny's trail of violence left a lasting scar on those who encountered it. His willingness to prey upon vulnerable victims, the chilling details of his cannibalistic acts, and his brazen demeanor during interrogation painted a picture of a man devoid of remorse or empathy. Metheny's death in 2017 marked the end of a chapter stained with unspeakable acts, yet his legacy serves as a stark reminder of the depths to which human darkness can descend. If you found Joe Metheny's unsettling story as gripping as it is disturbing, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us continue sharing compelling and thought-provoking narratives like this. Don't miss out on more chilling tales that delve into the complexities of the human psyche and the depths of criminal behavior. Until next time, stay curious.